everything is happening for you. You've heard this term, yet you might be struggling from time to time to really believe it. If that's you, then you definitely want to stick around for this video. Hi, hello, aloha. My name is Heather Patterson, and I am here to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. If you are new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. And if you are returning, welcome back. I'm so glad that you are here as well. So let's dive in. Like I said, we're going to focus on this idea of everything happening for you. It is a perspective that you can take on. And what I thought I would do is share with you a handful of my personal life experiences, situations, circumstances that in the moment felt like this was happening to me. And with some distance, with some, hindsight, I'm now able to see, wow, this happened for me. So let's dig in. Now, I'm going to share these things and I just have to blanket, just say this is not a time to have pity or be apologizing or whatever. Like, these are things that have come and gone, all is well. But I just, people can sometimes feel like, I gotta tend to her. I'm good. You don't need to tend to me. I'm tending to you, baby. So let's go. All right. So the first big, major life event where I can physically remember feeling, wow, this is really this is the end of my life as I know it. This is awful. I don't even know how I'm going to survive this. Why is this happening to me? Was when I was 15. I was 15 years old. I was moderately popular in my school. If you knew me then, I don't know, you can be the judge of that. But I had a really great friend group. I played sports. I was in cheerleading, the whole thing. And we moved. We moved in the middle of my sophomore year of high school. And I went to a fairly large school. I was in a rural area, but with the city, pretty close. I lived in Maryland, outside of Baltimore by about an hour. Okay. So access to a lot, but not necessarily in the city myself. I lived in a very rural area, but a big school. Okay. And I moved to a town of 5,000 people. And I'm telling you what, in the moment, it was this is the end of my life. Or fast forward and, down many years, fast forward, and I had been married. I was married previously. I'm not at this moment in time. However, I was previously married. And about 6 months into my marriage, my then husband comes to me and he basically says, look, you're angry all the time. And I've talked about this before, right? But really, it was paralyzing. Oh my God, why is this happening? My husband basically hates me. I kind of took it really far in my mind, but it was oh my God, what? Whoa, why is this happening? Right? This is felt once again this is happening to me. Or move well further down the line. I'm kind of going in sequential order. There was a time when I had first organized and created my coaching and consulting business. I did a fair amount of more HR related coaching and consulting at the time. And I had a client that I had on retainer. We had a very lucrative, to me at the time, arrangement. And seemingly out of the blue, it was terminated. And, I was oh my gosh, so what am I going to do? I'm no longer financially, stable. What the hell? What's going to happen here? It kind of threw me for a loop. Or, again, going in sequential order, right? I told you I had been married. By this time I was a couple years into having been divorced. I'm single, I'm dating, and I enter into a romantic relationship. And it was good until it wasn't. And ultimately you could classify that relationship as abusive. And once again, here's another opportunity for me to look and go, wow, why is this happening to me? And making him out to be the villain and, all of that, right? And then in most recent history, and there's plenty of other little things, but there are some major events. And I've talked about this before, and not so long ago, like it's been a couple years now, but it really wasn't all that long ago in the scheme of things, like I was fired. I was fired from a job. And once again, I could have taken on the perspective of this is happening to me and this company and this leader and blah, blah, blah is so bad and blah, whatever I could have done. But I didn't, right? So let me go through these again and give you kind of like the options. See, my belief is that this idea and, well, most everything, because there is the law of polarity, that everything is on a spectrum of sorts, right? Good, bad, light, dark, up, down, right? Polarity. Okay. And so in the same way, there is like happening for me, happening to me, and varying degrees of being able to see that. And so, when it comes to my relocation as a teenager from Maryland to Nebraska, yeah, that was like really traumatizing in a lot of ways at the time. Yet looking back now, I can see, wow, how valuable that was to prepare me to know and understand people from a different area and a different region and with different backgrounds and exposure and experience. Like, it definitely supported me in understanding how to connect and make friends and trust my intuition on, where paths are going to lead me, right? It was terrible in the moment. Of course it was. And I'm able to see the blessing. Or, for example, with my husband coming to me 6 months into our marriage and saying, like, you're always mad. I could have made him out to be the villain and could have, why can't you just understand me? And, whatever the other alternatives are, it's hard for me to even go there mentally. Yet what I choose to believe is, wow, first of all, that was courageous. I always say that whenever I speak about that event in my life, because I know that it took a lot of courage for him to bring that to my attention. I was very angry and not very pleasant to deal with. So that was probably scary for him. And nonetheless, and I look at it as an opener. This was the opening of my personal, emotional, spiritual development. And in many ways, helped guide and shape my career path, leading me right here to you. It had to happen. It happened for me. All right, so what about the instance where I lost my retainer client, right? I had a big chunk of change coming in on the regular and whoop, like, oh, this came out right from under me. That's one way to look at it. Or what I chose to look at it as was, okay, girlfriend, you got a little complacent. And what were you doing to go and market and promote and sell yourself in the meantime? Also, I ignored some pretty, I wouldn't say red flags, but they were yellow, if not orange, all right? I was operating a large part of their HR function. I knew what was happening with the organization. If I'm in termination and layoff talks, obviously I'm on the list, right? It's just a matter of which domino. Okay, so the abusive relationship. And listen, I gotta give a trigger warning. This may not land for some of you, especially if you've been in this situation or scenario. So just, if that's going to be a soft spot for you, I advise you to just move along, okay? But for me, again, I could go to a place of that was them and their fault. And yes, they have their faults in the matter, 100%. And what I choose to see in that situation from a, greater perspective and happening for me was, what an interesting mirror. What a valuable look at how I had been treating myself. See, my belief in this realm especially is that you attract what you are, not what you want. And if you could have heard the conversations in my own head about me, you wouldn't be surprised that I was willing to be in relationship with someone who spoke just as terribly to me. And then finally, getting terminated, right? Once again, I could give you a laundry list about how terrible they are and, gone to the place of victim thinking, or taken a higher perspective, taking the perspective of happening for me. And the truth is, I was freaking miserable in that role and was really nervous to make a change and to, go find something else, because this was my second place of employment in a matter of 2 years. Not common for me, what are people gonna think, blah, 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 blah. And so I was unwilling to make a decision. Well, guess what? The decision got made for me. And it happened for me. It allowed me to really, see myself as the entrepreneur and the coach and consultant that I really am, and, go and step out in faith to grow my business again, right? And so when I take you through all these different situations and scenarios, maybe some of them relate, right? Maybe you can relate. You've been there or been in a situation like that. The question is, are you seeing it as that happened to me, or this is happening for me? If you are struggling to understand and see the happening for you, then I want to invite you to go inward, to reflect. Number one, are you open to the idea that things are happening for you, the circumstances and situations and turn of events that may unfold and unravel, that they're happening for you? You have to be open. If you're closed, then move on, go watch some other video. But first and foremost, are you open? And to what degree, right? Again, everything's on a spectrum. Well, I'm kind of curious, could that possibly be? Or I'm wide open and I'm asking for answers, people, right? And that's okay wherever you are in the spectrum, as long as you're not closed, right? And if you're open, have you started to ask the question, what is this here to teach me? What is the not so obvious lesson available to me here? Maybe you'll come up with something and you may not. Sometimes you do need a lot of time in between the event and, the being able to see that blessing, it becoming more obvious. And so again, if you're challenged by that and you've asked those questions, you're open, you've asked those questions, then my last suggestion really is to keep the faith, to hold your faith in this idea that all will be revealed to you. You know that there is a blessing, there is a good, there is silver lining somewhere, and you're just not able to see it yet. It's a cloudy day right now in Arizona. It doesn't quite look like it, but I don't have any blinds on my walls right now, or my windows. It's cloudy. It doesn't mean that the sun's not there. Okay? So the chaos, the clouds, they're going to pass. You're going to be able to see the sunshine. You're going to be able to see the lesson. Perspective taking, like most things, is a choice that you can make. You can choose to go victim, right? You can choose to, brush things off and push them away and put them under rugs, or, hide them behind closed doors. You could also do some, what many people would call spiritual bypassing, or go into a toxic positive kind of point of view. You could do that. You could choose that. You have choice. Or you can choose to take on that perspective, right? That everything is happening for you. The bigger idea here is that you have the choice and there will be a consequence of the choice. Action, reaction, that's how this works. And you will need to live with the consequence of your choice. The choice of going victim, and what that is like, going and having hate and resentment and maybe even going to darker places than that, being vengeful and the like. The choice of pushing things under the rug and being absolutely clueless and just like totally out of touch. The choice of being toxically positive and bypassing everything, just being sort of aloof. Again, resulting in being out of touch. Maybe you begin to not trust yourself. You don't really have the processing power that's available to you. Again, you're going to make your choice. Just know what the consequence is. Because the consequence of choosing a perspective that everything is happening for you, my belief is, my experience is that it's far more energizing. It's far more empowering than any of those other options. If you enjoyed this video today, I encourage you to, first of all, subscribe. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hang around. Go find another video. I'll leave a couple suggestions for you at the final screen, and I will see you next time.